Yes, good afternoon, brother and sister in Christ, and also friends. Okay. Some of us, while reading Leviticus from chapter 23 to 25, might feel, hey, chapter 24 is a little disruption. Chapter 23 is a festival calendar, and to chapter 25, day or jubilee, all celebration mode. Then all of a sudden, chapter 24, as a scripture reader I just read through, wow, something very serious happened in between these two chapters. However, you can view it from this angle of flow. From seasonal, festive calendar, now coming to the weekly and daily activities. From a series of festival outdoor, which is now indoor. And the owner of these items is God, the inner court of the tabernacle. The golden lampstand, the golden table for the bread of present, and the third items, the altar of incense, where they burn the frankincense, signifying the sacred presence of God, sanctifying his people. Before we proceed further, let's come to the Lord in prayer. Oh God, fill your preacher here with courage to proclaim the truth. Lead your people to humble their heart to receive it in full. Fill us with understanding, applying what we learn into our Christian living for the benefit of our soul and glorify your holy name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's move to division 1. God is our light and provider. What's the role of Israel and what is their responsibility? The command, verse 2, was given to sons or children of Israel, the lay people. Israelite, as a group, must put in effort to provide a high quality clear oil from pressed olive to the priest. The priest to carry out the ritual in the inner court. The priest is to light up the lamp of pure gold lampstand and continual lighting from evening till morning. The Israelite received a very clear instruction here. What is the ingredient? How is the process to make the finest and purest oil to be used to light up the lamp? Pure and finest oil will lead to the continual bright burning light emission when lightened up. The first learning lesson here, when come to God's matter, no such thing as anyhow, but pay attention to the details is needed. The inner court are surrounded with thick curtains and there isn't a window. In the day, there are possibility still some sunlight coming to gaps in between, or it could be even at the bottom. However, in the evening, with such a thick curtain, it will be dark. Without light, you can't see anything. You cannot even move freely. During my national service as Brunei Jungle, we start to prepare for dinner 5 p.m., including sleeping arrangement and so on. Because in the thick Brunei jungle at 7 p.m. in the night is complete darkness, and I cannot even see my finger just in front of me. The jungle is so thick, no chance for even moonlight to get through. We have to time our late afternoon water intake so that midnight we don't need to go to toilet. If you walk in the midnight, the terrain is not flat and you might risk of fall or roll down the cliff. You might ask the question, why you don't use torchlight? We are not allowed to use torchlight because it will reveal our positions to our enemy. So when you light up the 7 lampstands of the pure gold lampstand, it will bring up the entire whole inner court. As light conquer darkness, So the whole inner court are now become visible to the priest in administer this ritual. When the lampstands are made with gold, pure gold, it will also reflect light and give out the glittering inside this inner court. The word regularly in NIV or continuously in AASB, ESV, and KJV mentioned 3 times here in this division. It's telling the lay people of Israel, you have to make sure the supply of pure olive oil is sufficient to last from evening till morning, continuous light up. So what is the role of the priest? The priest is the only one can enter the inner court. The priest is to ensure the lampstand continue to burn all the way from evening till morning. The priest is to be awake and stay alert throughout the evening. No napping or sleeping, but to ensure the light of the lampstand continues producing light and replenish continuously with the pure olive oil. If the wick of the lamp became charred, the priest has to trim the wick so that the light continuously burn, smoothly emitting bright lights. Any lapse or failure in the priest's duty or the son of Israel in supply, it can lead to a serious consequences. Light symbolize what? First, God is the source of light, as in Genesis. At God's command, let there be light. Then the lights appear. Light contribute to the world, sustain all human and living creature in the ecosystem. Without light, there will be no life. Plant will die. All living creature will extinct. God sustained the whole creation by providing a non-stop sunlight and keep the sun non-stop burning. Physical light. God did not complete here without providing spiritual light to Jesus Christ. The golden lampstand being the only source of light at the inner court, point directly to Jesus being the light of the world. When Jesus was in Jerusalem at the Feast of Booths or Tabernacle that we went to in chapter 23, at John chapter 7 area where the Jews commemorate their ancestor living in the desert, 40 years of wilderness before entering the promised land, fed by manna supplied by God. At the right moment, Jesus declared to the people, I am the light of the world. The world currently living in the state that the blind are leading the blind. Darkness cover the entire world. The world are blinded by Satan, that many cannot see the light. And these people are at loss in their way of life, aimless, meaningless, ultimately reaching the dead end. Even at the age of death, yet many refuse to accept the spiritual light. Human fail to see the glorious light of Christ, and they rejected the true light that illuminated life. This can be due to the hardening of the heart. Why so many people still choose to live in darkness? They can continue to hide in the darkness so that no one can see what they are doing. The attractiveness of the world, the pleasure that fill them, all this could have blinded them. And they embark in pursuing earthly and human glory that will not light. Light of the world in John chapter 1:4 here stated that in him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. The fundamental to the light was the life that it was representing. Jesus is our light and our life. Without light, there is no life. Life without physical light, all creature will die. Life without spiritual light, human, permanently and eternally dead. The world can come out of this darkness into glorious light of Christ through just a simple step, by believing in Jesus Christ. The gospel of Jesus can transform our spiritual blindness to light, because Jesus can illuminate our vision and open our eyes. With spiritual view, then all is clear. Here, the Israelites' responsibility is to ensure pure olive oil supply must be continued for usage for night to day. That is also pointing that all believer life must continue to shine for God. What principle we'll gather from these 4 verses? Believers are illuminated by God, and their life will shine for God. Believer must shine as individual, as a group, as a church. As individual, everywhere you go, be an ambassador of Christ. Shine for Christ as a Christian. Example, as a group, it can be a family or a group of people coming together and to share God's love and work on God's work given to them. As a church, the church must be the agent of God on earth in sharing God's love by supporting all Christian purpose gospel work, children hunger fund, or even use the church resources to support the needy, involved in outreach, be it local or overseas mission. Now, one candle provide one light source. And if you have many candles burned together, then the light produced will be a higher intensity, bright, cover larger area, and further. Just like a car headlamps with a high intensity of lux value, it can shine very far. The driver can see. The fog lamps will penetrate fog. The church are called to shine, not of their own doing, for what Christ has already done for the church, to the redemption of his blood at the cross. Jesus illuminated believer, and the church now will be able to shine for Christ. How can we shine? The question. Share the love of God. The love of God is enough to cause us even to love our enemy. When our life constantly exhibited out the love of God, then the believer will be able to see the source. This will be the mark of believers. Choose to do something in expression of God's love. It can be as simple as buying lunch box for a construction worker at your housing block below. Help your neighbor, help your friends. Always seize opportunity to be the light for God. One simple word you can also use, thank God, in front of them. Then they realize it's connected to God, the reason of this love action by you. Share our faith. One day my friend called me and asked me, hey, Jonas, let's go and pick up durian. And he also shared his thought of the day. He heard the first Christian in office. Then he was with a second Christian from a distributor, enter into a conversation about God. And now he's talking to me on the phone and mentioned that you are the third Christian today I talked to. I want to ask you something. So I muted the Zoom call with the IDG leader, talked to him, share a little of Christian faith. We must seize all opportunity to share our faith. In many occasions, I can tell you, the opportunity is not always at your own convenient time. Hopefully, my colleague will one day may be able to see more things in life and see Christ, the living light. Live a life that a Christian ought to live. Thanks. The Bible equips us with many principles of living. The best is to learn from the master, isn't it? Jesus. but imitate the way he lived his life. Like Paul already said, he also imitate Christ. We declare we are Christian, Christ follower. Therefore, we ought to learn how to speak like Christ, care for others like Christ, serve God like Christ, and even attitude in serving and obey God all the way. The light speak of the follower testimony of Christ, reflecting the light of Christ, illuminated the truth so that non-believer can see it through the way believer, how they live a life, and as a result, shine for Christ. Continual bread. From the light, from the golden lampstand, now we move to the second item in the inner court. The bread lay on the table of the presence, and the table is overlaid with pure gold. Again, the Israelites were instructed as a group effort to provide 12 loaves of bread. The type and the amount of fine flour in quantity, 2/10 of ephah, for each bread as one recipe for the bread of presence. It was given clearly, specifically, in details, so that Israelite can produce the best quality bread for God according to God's standard. Means we need to ensure the right portion, discipline, and focus in making this bread accordingly and not anyhow. Means we have to be serious when it comes to serving God. No chin-chai in Hokkien or in English anyhow in serving God. Okay. Traditionally, the bread was always unleavened. In this case, the bread might be in the form of a flat and round shape. They are arranged in 2 rows. The altar of burnt offering outside might sometimes be empty of a meal offering. But this table of present is always present with bread and be replaced with new bread every Sabbath continually. The replacement of the new set of bread is to perform by the priest, prepared by the Israelite for the Lord as a symbolic gesture to show 12 tribes of Israel setting their life, commitment, acknowledging, and thanksgiving to God as their covenant provider. And associate with God will continue to take care of them. God's blessing of redemption and provision to his people. Regardless in good year of harvest or in difficult year or bad year, this ritual is to be carried out continually in knowledge of God. Forever, he is our Lord and he is our provider. Eating the bread is not only benefit the priest as the stipend, but also the offering has been shared by the people. This ritual is the symbolic sign to the Israelite that their needs will be continuously to be met by God, the provider. This bread, together with the manna, were the foreshadows of the future bread to come, that is no more symbolic, but is actual, the true bread of life from heaven. This is not an ordinary bread. It has no expire date, doesn't need replenishment every Sabbath. Once you've eaten, it will be lived forever. Even though you die physically on earth, but you live twice. This is the permanent solution to the people's hunger, the deepest spiritual need of human, satisfying to the soul, leading to everlasting life. Early in Division 1, Jesus claimed he is the light of the world. Now, Jesus is claiming, I am the living bread from heaven. And you can see here in the book of John, these 2 verses, and the indicate here. After performing the feeding of the 5,000 and 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, the Passover feast at chapter 5, Jesus was at hand. Jesus proclaimed this identity. I am the bread from heaven and give for everyone. You will not be hungry anymore. Jesus know the people is after the physical bread and looking for more. In the early part of John chapter 6, Jesus is linking this physical feeding to the spiritual bread from heaven. Jesus always knows how to select the right moment and the right situation to reveal who he is. He is further telling the people, the bread that I will give to the world is my flesh. So what principle in this first part of division that we can learn from here is that believers entrust their lives to God and trust in God's provision. The way to the filling and satisfying life is through the bread of heaven. How to eat this bread is to believe in the one sent by God from heaven. Using the analogy of food, you must take it inside your stomach. Then Jesus must inside you in the center of your heart. Believe in your heart and accept Jesus in our life is a requirement for all the blessings to take effect. After consuming this bread of heaven, immediately you only die once, but you live twice. Physically dead once, leading to earthly and eternal life. Jesus is the bread of life. Let's go to the second division. God's name is to be honored, and God is our honorable judge. We begin with this continued word. From the holy ritual and holy things, now we come to the holy name and the honorable judge. An unexpected and disturbing event with irregular words occur here. And something inappropriate and unaccepted for the name of God was mentioned by this man. Here, he is a half Jew and half Egyptian man, came into a fight with the Jews in the camp. In this fight ended up with this half Jew and half Egyptian cursed the name. Note that this guilty person name was not mentioned at all, but his mother name was specifically mentioned, including her tribe that she is from. This guilty man name was blotted out from the Bible, from mentioning, and he was condemned. In the Bible, the Lord's name representing the reputation, the image, the authority, holiness, and the presence of the Lord. In the Old Testament, the prophet speaks of in the name of the Lord. He is coming from to perform a task under the approval and authority of God. Next week, in the baptism and baptism transfer, pastor will say, I baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Pastor do not have the power to baptize, but under the approval and authority of God given to him to perform the baptism. In the name of. The word curse is the same as curse in Exodus 21, that whoever curses his father and mother surely put to death. These were also highlighted in Leviticus chapter 20. Here is a very serious in chapter 24, because we are talking about a cursing, not just a parent, but it's a higher honors name, was cursed and was blasphemy and was dishonor the whole covenantal law that we have heard and we have just went through. The word blasphemy means speak irreverently about God. The blasphemer also break the third commandment of the 10 commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who take his name in vain. This is so serious that I guess probably Moses was shaken and shocked in the first place. Moses didn't immediately act on behalf of God, even though this offense by this blasphemer was explicitly clear. Moses waited for the Lord to instruct because it is directly related to God's name, not to make a hasty, unauthorized sentence. In Leviticus chapter 10, the two sons of Aaron died when they acted with unauthorized fire for not revere and honor God's holiness. Besides that also, Moses needs to know how this sentencing is going to be conducted, and according to God's divine judgment, not by him. We learn that do not take the matter of God lightly, especially the name of God, because you might lose your life. So Moses sent this blasphemer under custody and lockup pending instruction. Verse 13, the Lord spoke to Moses. God himself pronounces the divine judgment that the right punishment is to stone to death by the congregation, to be conducted outside the camp, lay their hand on him, then speak to the Israelite again. Whoever curses his God shall bear his sin, in verse 15. Whoever who hurt him committed this sin. Now we have to lay hand on his head and demand justice be upon this blasphemer. Symbolize that laying the guilt upon his head. If the congregation fail in carrying out this, then the whole congregation will incur the guilt of this person. This blasphemer not only failed to be the light to shine together with the Israelite, together to the surrounding nation, when God's people live under God's rule and protection. He did not revere and honor God's name and holiness. This detrimental sins was committed inside the camp. This fight is not only a physically, horizontally among men, but through the blasphemer mouth uttering unaccepted and inappropriate words, it turned into a vertical fight against God's holiness. Not only the blasphemer failed to shine for God, he also failed to receive God's provision of the bread of life. His words are totally disregard and dishonor God's reputation, homage, authority, holiness as the head of the camp. Besides losing the whole relationship living under God's protection and provision, now he's losing his life. The punishment received was twofold: physical and spiritual death. Church today itself shall not avoid this responsibility to discipline, to deal with sins. Otherwise, the church will be guilty. No sweeping of sin under the carpet in TCEPC, lest the guilt be upon the whole church. In today's church context, this person will face disciplinary action. If this person refuses to change or repent, it will be excommunicated from the church. Continual justice. We do not know the exact reason leading to the fight between this half-Jew and a Jew. It could be related to the matter mentioned from verse 17 to 21. Physical injury and or the loss of livestock. This half-Jew might perceive, I am not full Jews and I will not have a fair judgment or treatment in this camp. That is the wrong perception of him. In this camp, God is the honor judge. No matter what it is or what reason, these half-Jews have no right to vent his anger and turn to use the inappropriate and unacceptable word against God's name. Verse 17 to 21, God enacted the law in his camp. Here, the crime punishment sentence are based on, at the screen here, fair justice, matched by severity, equate to the crime for both injury and loss of human and animal life. The law was given to prevent anyone from taking things into his own hand, retaliate with the lawless response, especially in the moment of high intense charge of anger that can lead to the outbursts of overreacted and resulted in the worst consequence, another life be lost. Overly done. The aim of this guide is to remove the excessive acts of revenge, limit the claim, no exaggerated claim. God's camp is orderly, fair for all people, and he is the judge. Verse 22 highlighted of one standard, one set of law, applied to both Jews and the non-Jews. It displaying God as the fair, honorable judge. The people of God, the Jews, do not have a special right or privilege over others. All are treated equal. There is no double standard. This will be a continual justice for everyone live together as one community in the camp. Hence, the half-Jew man received what he deserved, stoned to death by the community. The whole community witnessed this divine judgment execution. Serve a reminder, God is holy. God is the judge. What principle we can gain from here? Before we go into how to honor God, I would like to highlight this, because today, many believers using this remark without really knowing the danger they are in as a believer. I do sound out to some believers that they should not follow the trend of the world by saying something that make them feel cool or stylish in look. One common remark they use is OMG, used to express dismay or alarm. Non-believer use the word G as G-O-D. And I hear it every week wherever I go. And some believers try to modify or follow the modified version, G-O-S-H. Gosh is still the reflection of the original intention. Any mispronunciation can be ended up wrong word, G-O-D. My advice is don't use any comment after an incident with OMG. This sentence didn't add any value, but it add risk. Because a slip of tongue, you mention it wrongly, you are using God's name in vain and dishonor him as a believer. How to honor God's name? It's not just a mere avoiding misuse of God's name, but to live a life as God holy people. Life of worshiping God. We are redeemed by the perfect sacrifice of God's beloved Son Jesus at the cross. If God were to apply the justice of verse 17 today, a life for a life, then human beings are finished. But God applied mercy and grace that we may have life today. So our life belongs to God. When we live our life according to God's way, it will reflect we are God's people and are to honor his holiness and reflect God's holiness to the world that God is holy. In addition to the Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2 here, there is one very important verse in the Bible that is often taken lightly, even though it meant seriously. Here in Hebrew chapter 12, verse 28-29, reminds us about worship God. We must worship God with reverence and awe because God is our consuming fire. It's time we ought to take seriously, look into reverence and awe to worship God, not just because of Sunday worship alone. Every day of our life is worshiping God. To honor God's names is to revere and awe in honoring Him. Second, be the ambassador of Christ. Imitate how Christ lived as shared in Division 1. Jesus is the perfect example for us to learn how we are going to live our life reflecting God's glory, and in doing so, honoring God's name. Being an ambassador of Christ is the perfect example of representing God's kingdom on earth. It requires us to behave, think, speak, attitude, our whole self be Christ likeness. Everywhere we go, we are Christ's ambassador, representing Him. Be in difficult time or in good time, believer ought to shine for the Lord. How can one attitude also be seen as dishonoring God's name? If you put the second division, the name and the injury together as one in this division, in today's world, many injuries are not really physical injury anymore, but the invisible internal injury or hurts to the person's heart or to the person's name. It can be also to the church leader and worse, damage to the church name. The guilty person can be spreading rumors, accusation, or pouring bad name to the church leader, or the worst, the church name was affected due to internal unnecessary conflict. The church is a representative on earth as a bride to the bridegroom, which is our Lord Jesus Christ, and ought to be shine as a church. The church shall not dishonor Jesus' name as a bride. Many years ago, about 20 years ago, my colleague asked me about a Christian colleague in our office. Why, Jonas, this person has so many problems with others in the office? I was also speechless at that time because I also faced the difficulty with this person. Brother and sister, think about this. If a believer live a life of a lot of dispute with others, do you think this is honoring to God's name? Especially claiming to be a Christian. The only hope for such person is the heart and the mind change to be like Christ, become an ambassador. Then this person can start shining in honoring to God. Applying God's justice in our daily living and shine for God. On the 18th of March, I was waiting in my car for my wife and my son to come back. I observed a red car in front of me was waiting for a parking lot. Then a car leave a parking lot. So this red car was planning to drive in and park. Then all of a sudden, a white car came from behind, overtake, and tried to squeeze into this car park. And they have a short, car-to-car confrontation. And avoid collision, the red car reversed back and give way. And the white car parked. So I come out of my car, I walk to the red car, I clarified with the person. After that, I walk to the white car and tell the person, no, I was waiting here earlier, I was at the behind and this and so on. Then I told you, mister, I was sitting in my car, I observed this whole event. Next moment, he was quiet and silent. Then he said, oh, sorry. And his wife also said sorry to me. Actually, they should say sorry to the red car, not to me. Then I plan to give out my car, park because my family are very near to the car and we're about to set off. Now, why I acted on this and appear to be capable, busybody? Because I was meditating on this passage while waiting for them. And I was confronted with these verses of justice. If I didn't act that day, I want to tell you I will be struggling standing here today. We as a Christian must attempt to display Christian value of justice, act in our daily living. However, having said this, I dare not do this the same if I'm at United States, because the people down there carry gun. So we apply all these three principles into our living. Not just the first two contribute to the third principle, but if we apply all these, then won't you think that truly God's name will be glorified? God will be honored by our living. Before we end, be a closing prayer. This is a reflection questions. We will take about 2 to 3 minutes. You read through, you reflect, and after that, I will close with a closing prayer. Shortly, we come to prayer. Let's come to the Lord in prayer. Oh God, we thank you for your word, reminding us how we should live our life as a believer on earth. May you direct our path to honor you. Grant us the wisdom and strength to live for your glory in this dark world, to be the light that shines brightly for Christ. And in doing so, we will give glory to your holy name. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.